When God does something, He does it by sevens. For example, back in Genesis chapter 2, verse 1 to 2 there, in the 6th day the Lord God made heaven and earth and rested on the 7th day. So God made the heaven and earth in the 6 days, and then the rest of the 7th day He rested. He stopped on the 7th day. Seventh-day Adventists say, well, that's true, so you should rest on the 7th day, and since the 7th day is Saturday, well, then you ought to, rest on Saturday instead of Sunday. That's because they don't know much about the Bible. Turn to Nehemiah chapter 9. The 7th day was a sign given to Israel. Get Nehemiah chapter 9 in one hand, get Ezekiel chapter 20 in the other. A Christian has no business observing the 7th day at all. But it's the 7th day of Saturday. You're right, it is. Sunday is the first day of the week. But if you're a child of God, you observe the first day of the week because Christ rose from the dead the first day of the week. The Holy Spirit came down at Pentecost the first day of the week. Paul preached the first day of the week at night, Acts chapter 20. The collection was taken up on the first day of the week, 1 Corinthians chapter 16. We didn't get this first day of the week stuff from the Catholic Church. We didn't get it from the Son of God, we got it from the New Testament. All right, you take there in Ezekiel chapter 20, look at verse 20 and 21, and there God told you what the Sabbath was. He said it's a sign between me and you. Who's the you in the passage? Why, it's Israel. Look at verse 16, 17, 18, and 19. It's a sign. The Sabbath's not a moral commandment, it's a sign. The Jews require a sign. The Sabbath is a sign between him and Israel. You're not a Jew. Look at verse 16, 17, 18. You didn't come out of Egypt, back there in the Old Testament. That's a Jew. Now come to Nehemiah chapter 9. In Nehemiah chapter 9, notice there at verse 14 that nobody knew anything about the Sabbath until Moses. Adam knew nothing about the Sabbath. Abraham didn't keep the Sabbath. Isaac didn't keep the Sabbath. Enoch didn't keep the Sabbath. Noah didn't keep the Sabbath. Nobody knew what the Sabbath was till Moses. A Seventh-day Adventist picks up his Bible and says, well, it says there in Genesis 2. Who wrote Genesis 2? Moses. Nehemiah chapter 9, look at it there. Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 14, he tells you when the Sabbath was established. He said the Lord came down on Sinai and made known to them his holy Sabbath. Sinai. Moses. Nobody till Exodus chapter 20 knew what the Sabbath was. And Moses writes Genesis. When he writes Genesis and says he rested the 7th day from all his work and sanctified the Sabbath because in it he rested, Moses is writing that thing. That's 1500 B.C. Nobody in the book of Genesis keeps Sabbath. Nobody. You say, what? They're under grace. Amen. They're not under the law. The law shows up in Exodus 20. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Judah, Joseph, Enoch, Noah, nobody keeps the Sabbath. A Seventh-day Adventist, I suppose he keeps the Sabbath because he's an Old Testament Jew. But I am not an Old Testament Jew, I'm a New Testament Christian.